Hello, I'm Simon Palin and you're watching the Consumer Quarter. We take a look at what's happening in the retail sector and at the issues affecting you as a consumer. In this edition, how companies are reaching out to consumers on social media. And behind the scenes of Fashion Week, things aren't so glamorous.
It's not easy, it's not glamorous, it's really hard, and when you're working for yourself, it's non-stop.
But first, it seems almost everyone you speak to these days has a story about when they or someone they know was targeted by online scammers, because new technology is effectively giving scammers chances that they never had before. And new figures show the number of reported scams in 2011 almost doubled from the year before. Authorities received more than 80,000 reports from Australian consumers and small businesses. New technology is designed to make our lives easier, but unfortunately it's also making life easier for scammers.
They called up our house pretending that they were fixing our computer and got us to give them all our computer details and credit card details and everything, and so that didn't go down very well.
What happened there?
They took all the money out of my dad's account.
And all too often, innocent people are left helpless.
Did you manage to get the money back?
No, there was no way. We called the police, but there was no way that they could help us get it back.
For scammers, email is a cheap and easy way of luring targets.
Lots of emails, all the time emails. Can't really get rid of them, but besides that, not many people come up in the street. It's more of an online thing.
And many of the emails appear trustworthy and professional.
Look, it's a very significant problem, and we've seen an explosion in the number of complaints that consumer protection agencies across the country have received about scams in the last few years. And we know that's the tip of the iceberg because we know that not everybody reports a scam. One of the things that concerns us is many of them are generated from overseas, and it's therefore very hard for Australian consumer protection agencies to take action against the perpetrators.
Fraudsters are also increasingly infiltrating dating and online shopping websites to rip people off. And scammers are always capitalising on new technologies. Smartphones contain a treasure trove of personal information that can be exploited if they fall into the wrong hands.
There's a heap of data on that makes it very easy for the scammers, and remember, they're after two things. They're after your money, but more importantly, in these days, it's your identity that people are after as well, and that's the sort of data that's stored on a smartphone.
To guard against fraud, the advice is to always use passwords to protect your smartphone and make sure any downloaded apps are coming from a trusted source. And even if the apps or other software you download is coming from a trusted, non-fraudulent source, experts are warning that Australians are likely to pay much more for it than consumers overseas.
The federal government is planning an inquiry into why companies like Apple and also Microsoft charge Australian customers more. Some companies blame Australia's isolation and higher taxes for the increased costs. Canberra is finalising the terms of an inquiry, which is expected to begin later in the year. Consumers are welcoming the inquiry, though some fear it could go the same way as the last inquiry into petrol pricing.
And around the world, new technology is a constant headache for authorities who are trying to ensure that consumers don't get ripped off. But the onward march of new technology is not going to stop anytime soon. Many of the latest gadgets have gone on display at Asia's biggest electronics show. Here's the ABC's Matt Cargill.
From the visual to the practical, 3,000 exhibitors from 28 countries promoting what they hope will be the next great gadget at the Hong Kong International Electronics Fair. The buzzwords this year: touchscreens, tablets and connectivity. When it comes to gadgets, there's the remote-controlled Big Eye. It works to a range of 30 metres, real-time video recording and audio streaming on 4 wheels. Technology with a green theme has also captured the imagination. Carbon Radar is a virtual form of cycling with the aim of reducing carbon emissions. Or, for the real thing, this bike and camera offers an alternative view. There's also hope when it comes to clothes shopping thanks to the electronic mirror, a virtual fitting room slipping you into the right size without the hassle.
the sensors will capture all the body measurements. And then from there, we can fit the image of the clothes to the person's body as much as we could. You just sitting there at home, fit it in, do a 360 sensors, and then fit it in, and then after that, you just send it to the manufacturer.
The next generation of tech-savvy consumers hasn't been forgotten. Kid stuff, really, but who wouldn't be tickled pink with a pic from this lot?
And the Swedish furniture giant IKEA is making a move into consumer electronics. The company's promotional video shows it's due to release an integrated entertainment system. IKEA says the aim is to eliminate all of the cords that lead to a mess in the living room. It's due to hit the market in Europe in June. There's no word yet on when it'll be available in Australia. Well, the Dutch airline KLM is now allowing passengers to view other passengers' Facebook and LinkedIn profiles to help them determine who they'd like to sit next to. The airline is calling it the Meet and Seat program, and it's marketing it as a networking opportunity. Only those passengers who opt in are part of the initiative, and if someone chooses you, but you don't want to sit next to them, then it's up to you to change your reservation. Well, it could make for an awkward encounter if the person you rejected sees you on the flight. But anyway, these days so many companies are embracing social media in different ways. Lots of them are using sites like Twitter and Facebook to monitor what customers are saying about them. The telco giant Telstra says it now has 60 full-time staff monitoring every form of social media. Chief Executive David Thodey says new platforms shouldn't be ignored, with Telstra's social media monitors mainly dealing with complaints.
People say, well, I wanted my broadband connected, yesterday and someone didn't turn up. And if you can get ahead of that and say, no, we're here, we'll talk to you. Enormous change in terms of customer reaction. That doesn't say that we get it right every day, but we need to be far more dynamic, chat rooms, etc., in terms of using this technology.
And some other companies are taking their social media strategy to an entirely different level.
Kraft macaroni and cheese is so very pleased that you like to sign Facebook.
Food manufacturer Kraft rolled out a special thanks to its Facebook fans in the form of a 7-minute song. The song mentions by name some of the random people who are active on the Kraft Facebook page. Okay, now for a slight change of pace. And the recent Sydney Fashion Week took place with some notable no-shows. Designers like Alex Perry gave the event a miss. Some say the timing was out and the whole thing should be moved to better fit business.
It's a vibrant start for Fashion Week, with the collection inspired by comic book heroes. But behind the scenes, it's strictly business.
It's not easy, it's not glamorous, it's really hard, and when you're working for yourself, it's non-stop.
The design duo behind Romance Was Born is concentrating on domestic sales, but admit the timing's off for those trying to catch the eye of buyers from the US and Europe.
Well, yeah, the shows are over, the sales have been done, the stores have bought their collections, and, to show this late, it's kind of irrelevant.
For years, Alex Perry was a Fashion Week fixture, until now.
I've always shown it at Fashion Week in Sydney, but the timing of it has now made it just not something that I can do.
The schedule doesn't fit his production deadlines, and he's not alone. Dion Lee and Josh Goot are two big names that pulled out just weeks before the opening.
What some designers are pushing for is for the event to be staged in March, straight after the collection shows in February internationally, or to be pushed towards the resort season in June.
This year, more than 70 designers are featured, slightly down on last year, but many big names are still there. So too are the buyers.
Some of the bricks and mortar stores, such as Harvey Nichols and Joyce over in Hong Kong, but also a lot of the online retailers, which we're seeing a great influx coming into Australia.
Alex Perry says while the local contingent's strong, he's not convinced international buyers are snapping up glamorous gowns.
In all the time that I've been doing it, I've personally never had an evening wear buyer from any place internationally that has actually come here. I think it's been more focused on day wear and on perhaps swimwear.
It seems timing is everything, and Alex Perry says if Fashion Week's moved to March, he'll be there. IMG Fashion will make an announcement about the timing of next year's event after the catwalks close for 2012.
That's the ABC's Nicole Cheddle with that story. And finally, for this edition of the Consumer Quarter, a story about Tasmanian Whiskey, which is earning rave reviews in the United States. A reputation for clean water and more subtle single malts is attracting new demographics of whiskey drinkers around the world.
Tasmanian whiskies have been pleasing European palates for years. Now they're reaching new markets. Lark Distillery has negotiated the state's first shipment of single malts to the United States.
They've now got our product in New York, California, Florida, Illinois.
The deal looked like it could come unstuck at the height of the global financial crisis, but now the US is expected to top up its order on one condition.
Interestingly, anywhere else in the world we can sell our whisky in 700ml bottles, but in America it has to be a 750ml bottle. So we had to then look around for a new bottle, redesign our labelling.
A distillery in Burnie started exporting to Canada this year. It's preparing to launch its first 10-year-old single malt. Tasmania produces lighter whiskies with vanilla and citrus notes, meeting new consumer demands.
We're finding that a lot of the younger people, particularly in Paris, are now the new single malt whisky drinkers, and both male and female.
The first taste of things to come was in 1996 in the state's northwest. A batch of whisky made in a shed at North Motton was sent to Scotland as one of Springbank Distillery's whiskies of the world.
As far as we can tell, we were the first company to actually sell whisky in Tasmania since the 1800s.
The self-proclaimed mum and dad business folded the following year, but there's enough whisky left for 3 more years of online sales.
Tasmanian whiskey is good whiskey, no doubt about it. We can sell that in any country in the world, then it's good for Tasmania.
There are plenty of connoisseurs who'll drink to that.
Emily Bryan with that story. And that's all for this edition of the Consumer Quarter. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see any past episodes, or if you've got any feedback or even story ideas, please feel free to get in touch online, on Twitter @SimonPalin, or on Facebook, search for the Consumer Quarter page and click like to stay up to date. And I'll see you next time.